It's the Eagle Community Television Forum with your host, Gary Shorman.
Hi everyone, I'm Gary Shorman and this is the Forum on Eagle Community Television. Nice to have you watch me because we're going to be talking about something that really is a big deal in our part of the world. That is the oil and gas industry. Our guest today is Ed Cross, and he's the president of the Kansas Oil and Gas Association. Ed, good to have you here.
Gary, great to be here. Yeah.
Now, you're based out of Topeka, but you cover the entire state, correct?
We do. Cuyahoga has offices in Topeka as well as Wichita, and but we have a little over 1,400 members throughout the entire state, so we cover the entire state of Kansas.
And it's nice to have you here because you don't have to drive too far around Ellis County before you see oil wells. And we know it means a lot here in Ellis County, but what does the oil and gas industry mean to our state?
Well, the oil and gas industry is a stable and dependable element of the Kansas economy and has been for quite some time. Ellis County is still the largest oil producing county in Kansas, but it's a robust industry throughout the state. We have our oil production in this state's gone up 37% over the last 10 years. We support, I should back that up. Actually, our average oil well in Kansas makes about 3 barrels a day. Mm-hmm. Yet that industry still supports 67,000 jobs and $3 billion in family income throughout the entire state. So it's amazing that we have wells that average, what many would consider marginal wells, very small marginal wells, but it's a very important part of the industry.
Now, when you talk about that statewide, we see it here in Ellis County, and you mentioned how it's grown. Where is the oil development taking place in the state?
Oil is produced in 89 of the counties here in Kansas, so it's really all over the entire state. But you have different areas that have, in addition to Ellis County, we can go away from the eastern part of the state where they have some shallow production, all the way through the south central part where they have some of the Mississippian lime production and stuff. To the southwest, of course, the Hugoton field has been there for many years, and then new production around north of here, up in Rawlings County and places in Kansas. So it's really all over the entire state. In many of the counties where you find oil and gas production, it can be as much as 25% or more of the employment of that county is with the oil and gas industry.
So with the Kansas Oil and Gas industry and the association, what is your job specifically? I mean, what do you try to do as an association?
Well, as an association, we advocate for the small independent producer here in Kansas. And my job is public policy advocacy and communication with external stakeholders, including legislators as well as regulators and community leaders, to just talk about the oil and gas industry, the impact of the industry, and also bring either legislative or regulatory proposals for the industry to either the regulators or the legislation.
Sounds like we'd probably have a 2 or 3 hour show if we wanted to cover all that. Let's do a couple of the highlights so things people talk about. First off, fracking. There's some people, if you read the right articles, say, boy, the fracking is going to destroy the world. Is that going on in Kansas, and what is the real effect of fracking?
Hydraulic fracturing is a technology that has been around since 1947. Actually, the very first well ever fracked in the United States was fracked here in Kansas in 1947. And so whenever you look at that across the United States, we've had over 57,000 wells in Kansas that have been fracked. There's been over 1.2 million wells across the United States that have been fracked without one documented instance of harm to groundwater. And so it's a technology that industry has demonstrated time and again can be used safely throughout the United States.
So what's all the excitement today about it?
Well, the excitement today is people will often want to try to link different things to hydraulic fracturing, and hydraulic fracturing is really just the process of pumping sand and water into the rock formations under the earth to open the natural fractures in the rock to allow the oil and gas to come to the wellbore. So sometimes just a misunderstanding of exactly what that is creates some anxiety among people about what fracking is and what that's doing to the environment.
One of the things that you also mentioned you deal with is legislative things. What are the legislative issues that you're working on this year?
We have a number of those issues in the legislature. I mean, our main goal is to protect the industry from any negative type of legislation, but also look for opportunities that might be able to help the industry. Whenever we look at what's going on this year, I mean, recently the governor announced his task force to look at induced seismicity, which Some have thought that that relates to fracking, but really what the governor said in his press release was that he was looking at induced seismicity to see if there was any relationship between that and disposal or injection activity, which is something that's completely different than hydraulic fracturing. So it's not really a hydraulic fracturing issue so much as the possibility of whether disposal or injection wells could have any relationship at all. So that's, I mean, that's not legislative action actually, that's just a task force that he's put together to look at that.
What about regulatory things? Because I know a lot of industries have had sort of an increase, not sort of, but they have had an increase in regulation. Is that also something that you work on?
Yes, it is. I mean, you know, our industry, whenever we look at the biggest challenges that we have as an industry, especially the small independent industry, our biggest challenges continue to come from the federal level. And so whenever we look at those regulations and stuff, it's mostly the federal regulations that, and we can talk about some of those if you want to, but one of the things I would like to point out is that we support the state regulatory process, and we believe in that process. Not that we think that that's an easier process or anything, but it's a process that has worked for many years for both the industry and the regulatory community here in Kansas.
A lot of times when people talk about regulations, they don't think about some of the things and the side effects. One of those is like the lesser prairie chicken, and they're looking to put it on the endangered species list. But that would affect oil business, it would affect wind farms, it would affect anybody that lives in a rural environment, and I know that's something you're also involved with, that type of thing.
Yes, it is. The lesser prairie chicken, it would impact the oil and gas industry, but many other industries as well, actually across the 5-state region. And whenever you look at the lesser prairie chicken, that's something the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service is looking at as a possibility to be able to list as an endangered species. And you have to look at the habitat of that. And the 5-state wildlife agencies have put together a plan to help, conservation plan, to help protect that, to prevent the listing of the lesser prairie chicken, and we're supportive of that process to try to preclude the listing of the lesser prairie chicken. And it also allows our oil and gas industry to be able to operate in the areas where the lesser prairie chicken is.
You mentioned a few years ago where the oil and gas industry was, but today, I mean, there's potential. Not only you see the growth in Kansas in oil and gas production, that the United States become almost self-sufficient oil and gas-wise. Are you surprised at that growth?
I mean, I think whenever you look over the last 10 years, the technology and innovation that the oil and gas industry has brought forward has been remarkable. Whenever you look at the last 10 years, there's been over 20 new oil and gas fields found all over the United States that could add $1 trillion to the gross domestic product of the United States, as well as 1.3 million new jobs. And these are found all over the United States, and it has brought our nation to the point where energy independence is within sight. And that's just over 5 years ago, we were importing 62% or more of our oil needs, and today that's around 34%. So you can see that that's improving, and it's going to continue to improve.
And for those of us that set in gas lines back in the late 70s and 80s, that's almost unbelievable to be at this point.
Yes, I mean, that's one of the things that's remarkable about the oil and gas industry, and one of the reasons that I love to represent this industry is they embody the spirit of the American entrepreneur. They are dedicated to ideas and are committed to investment and job creation here in the United States, and they look for innovation and technology to enhance our energy security and create jobs throughout the United States.
We're going to talk about the creativity and what goes on, especially coming up in a few weeks, where we're talking about a tour that takes place, and actually it's a mid-year event that takes place. It's going to happen here in Hays. We'll come back and talk with Ed Cross a little bit about that, what you could possibly see and what you can learn about the Kansas oil and gas industry. Our guest, Ed Cross, who's president of the Kansas oil and gas industry. We'll be back with more after this.
Youthful body, tight tummy, smooth facial lines. Greystone Cosmetic and Reconstructive Surgery is here to help you achieve your goals and give yourself the new look you've always wanted. Greystone offers sophisticated surgical and non-surgical cosmetic procedures. With services now available locally, there's no need to wait any longer. Contact Greystone Cosmetic and Reconstructive Surgery at Hays Medical Center today or online at greystonecosmetic.haysmed.com.
It's a beautiful day in our super high-speed internet great customer service neighborhood. Like you, this is where we live. In fact, our company is employee-owned, so it's our goal to improve the quality of life for everyone in our community by delivering faster, more reliable internet, clearer, more feature-laden phone service, and tons of high-definition TV channels, all with a level of customer service and value you'd expect from people who are your neighbors. Eagle Communications, our community connected.
Welcome back to the second half of our forum here on Eagle Community Television. We record this program live every Monday afternoon at 2 o'clock out at our Dillon's location on Vine Street. So if you get a chance, come out and say hi while you're out running around here. Secondly, if you have questions or comments, you can send them to me at gary.shorman@eaglecom.net. You can also chase us down on Facebook. If you're on Facebook, look under ECTV Forum. We'll be there. Click us as your friend. Our guest today is Ed Cross, who is head of the Kansas Independent Oil and Gas Association here in Kansas. Cuyahoga, as they call it, correct?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
All right. Well, we were talking as we went into the break about ways to learn about Kansas oil and gas production. And frankly, there is a really cool event coming up in mid-April that takes place in the spring. Tell me a little bit about that event.
Yes, we call that our mid-year meeting, and we're pleased to be back in Hays again this year, and we'll be out at Fort Hays State University in mid-April for a convention that's going to bring a lot of interesting and informative venues for people to come and learn about.
Now, this is mainly for oil and gas producers, but you're also involved the community in some things if they want to come out and take a look at oil and gas production.
That's right. It is our mid-year meeting for the oil and gas producers, but the community is invited to come out and check out some of our exhibits as well as listen to some of our seminars and things like that.
One of the things I know that is interesting is you drive by on interstate, you see a oil well being drilled, the rig up there. It is huge equipment. You drive by and you see out in the field one of the pump jacks pumping oil. What does the average Kansan know about the oil and gas industry?
Well, oftentimes, those things that are pumping out there going up and down are not drilling rigs. Oftentimes, some people may think of those as being the drilling rigs, but that well out there is creating jobs and it's creating energy independence. I mean, when you look at that here in Kansas, every one of those wells that you see out there is like a small business. It creates jobs, it creates taxes, it creates economic impact for the community. And when you look at the oil and gas industry in Kansas, we invest over $1 billion annually into rural Kansas throughout the whole state, drilling wells every year. And there are few industries that will invest $1 billion annually into rural Kansas.
And so you see the great big rigs that are out there that are the big derricks that are drilling and a lot of moving parts and people. That's another whole process of drilling and looking for oil.
It is. Those are the rigs that are actually drilling the holes in the ground. So they have the drill bit that spins and goes down, and most of the oil is found 4,000 to 5,000 feet below the surface. So when you think about that, think of almost a mile down is where we're drilling to look for the oil and natural gas whenever we find that.
Now, one of the things that has changed a lot is technology, like every business, and I'm sure that's what you'll be showing at this mid-year association meeting.
Yes, we'll be talking about some of the technology and the different techniques that's used out there to enhance the production. I might add that it's an exciting industry whenever you look at the oil and gas industry, because they work hard to develop technology and innovation to access more and more oil and gas reserves. But what's really unique about it is they not only work hard at what they've learned, but they're also working hard to develop things for the future too, and that's important for the industry and for the economy.
You mentioned each one of the oil wells being a small business, but you represent the independent oil and gas producers of the state. Mm-hmm. What is a typical independent oil and gas producer? What is the makeup? Is it family run? Is it corporations? What's it made up of?
Yeah, most of them are small family run businesses or individuals that run businesses. They're not the large integrated companies that you might think of when you think of some of the large companies. But these are small, many people use the word mom and pops that are out there that employ, 6 or 8 people at the most. Some of them don't even employ that much. The way I would describe an independent producer is the dashboard of his truck is his desk. And so he works hard every day out there to pump these wells.
If someone wants to find out more, Ed, where can they go?
You know, you can find information about the industry as well as our association and our events by going to our website at www.kioga, that's KIOGA.org, or you can call our Wichita office at 316-263-7297.
Very good, and I hope if you get a chance you want to find out, because you look at the tools that they use in the oil field. These are not little tools. They're big-time tools. I know you're going to be having some of those demonstrated out at Fort Hays State. It's going to be a fun event coming up in mid-April. If you have some more and want some more information, check them out online at kioga.com or find out through the phone number in Wichita to be able to chase that down as well. Ed, thanks for being our guest today.
Thank you, Gary.
Are you going to go out and find some oil here later on today?
Well, I may go out and visit some of those that are trying to find oil.
There you go. Ed Cross is the president of the Kansas Independent Oil and Gas Association. We appreciate the time you have on our program today. Thanks for watching. The program is brought to you by Hays Med and by Eagle Communication, our community connected.
Youthful body, tight tummy, smooth facial lines. Greystone Cosmetic and Reconstructive Surgery is here to help you achieve your goals and give yourself the new look you've always wanted. Greystone offers sophisticated surgical and non-surgical cosmetic procedures. With services now available locally, there's no need to wait any longer. Contact Greystone Cosmetic and Reconstructive Surgery at Hays Medical Center today or online at greystonecosmetic.haysmed.com.